Denial can be one of the most powerful defense mechanisms that we use as a tool in our toolbox as adults. It's really sad when we have to engage in denial when it comes to our toxic and unhealthy families because we don't know how to embrace the truth. It feels so unnatural and so wrong to look at our family and say, you know what, this is wrong with you, and that is wrong with you, and this is wrong with you, and why can't you do this? We don't want to be judgmental. We certainly don't want to dismiss our family, right? And we also want to stay connected if we can. But the reality for a lot of people, and especially most of you who are on my channel, is that family is toxic for you. And it's okay to make that decision to separate from them, which has been the series on this channel for the past 2 months. And so I think in today's video, I want to focus on how we lie to ourselves when it comes to family. What do we say to ourselves that keeps us entrenched in and stuck in the chaos and the drama within our family? Even after you walk away from your family, you may find yourself reaching back to kind of make a connection or forgive somebody or give them another chance. And in doing that, you reopen the door for further assault. So in today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the different forms of denial and how we lie to ourselves when we know the truth deep down inside. But first, let me introduce myself in case you are new. My name is Tamara, and I'm an internationally and board certified trauma therapist. I'm also licensed in mental health, and I specialize in treating children, teens, and families, as well as adults who are dealing with trauma. Let's jump in. So I'm not going to give much of an introduction for this particular video because I think it's quite explanatory. I want to zone in on why do we lie to ourselves, right? There's a lot of psychological theories that can help us understand denial. Okay, or it can help us understand different defense mechanisms that we may use when we are struggling with kind of accepting the status of our family. It's not easy to pause and think, I need to separate from my family, or I need to stop talking to them, or another one that I hear a lot of is, we never can connect. We do good on the holiday. We do good when we don't talk for a while, but then as soon as we're close and we have to be around each other for a long period of time, that's when things go downhill. I think it's just, again, as I've said on this channel many times, it's the social and cultural pressure that family is everything, that family is all that we need, that if we just connect to family or stay connected or we work through things, everything's going to be fine. And that's beautiful for those families where that does work. But the reality for a lot of you, especially those who are subscribed to the channel, it's not that easy. There's a lot of dynamic, there's a lot of personalities, there's a lot of mental illnesses and just different components and factors that makes that difficult, But it still doesn't mean, with all that said, it doesn't mean that you sometimes struggle with denial. It doesn't mean that you sometimes struggle with wanting to reach back. And it also doesn't mean that you sometimes struggle with the decision that you have made to separate. So let me highlight some of the things that you might find yourself thinking or saying to yourself inside of your heart, even though you shouldn't. The first thing that I've seen, and I've had a lot of clients come in and struggle with this, is they will change. Now, it's really easy to think that your family will change, right? And you may actually begin to seep into denial when that family member disappoints you in some way. And instead of looking at that family member and saying, what happened there, you might digress or even regress emotionally into a position that's not healthy and say, they'll change. Here's why they did it. And you may give them A, B, and C reasons, right, as to why they did what they did, why they didn't hold their end of the bargain up, why they hurt you, why they abused you and traumatized you. You may try to find a way to justify it and, fit the puzzle pieces correctly and convince other people of those puzzle pieces that you've stacked so nicely for yourself, right? So instead of just embracing the fact that, maybe things aren't quite the way I would like them to be, instead of facing that, you set things up in your mind and in your heart, and you move around the chess and puzzle pieces so that it'll look good for you, so that it'll look good even for other people, I should add, right? And that's usually where you get hurt because it backfires down the road. The next thing that I have seen, and you're probably experienced yourself, is something like, maybe I didn't understand, say it right, be clear, come across the right way, right? You start, again, minimizing, justifying, fitting those puzzle pieces correctly into the puzzle board, right? Instead of just accepting the reality of it, then you start kind of internalizing things, and you're starting to kind of question your own sanity in a sense. And you're saying, well, maybe I didn't come across clear. Maybe I didn't say it right. Or maybe it's how I delivered it. Or maybe it's how, I brought it up. Maybe it wasn't the right time. And you start like trying to fit that square, what do they say? A square puzzle in a round peg or something like that. I probably got that all messed up. I'm sure you guys, get a kick out of all my mistakes. That's why I leave them in the video. You know what I'm trying to say, guys, right? You're trying to fit some kind of puzzle or square something into a round hole that's not working. The next thing is we're family. I'm sure you've gone through that theory in your mind. We're family. Like, I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to let them get away with it. There's no sense in being judgmental and stereotypical. I'm just going to forgive them. We're family. We're going to get through it. And then 2 months later, you're back in the same position. You don't want to, say to yourself, we're family, and then ignore everything and cover your eyes and, tuck your tail and keep moving. That's not healthy, because the same issue is going to pop up again at some point. I need them. I'm sure you've said that a lot of times. I need them. I don't want to say goodbye. They're my company. They're my safe haven. They're my peace of mind, right? I need them. I'm sure you've said that to yourself. And I'm sure a lot of people, have shared that similar experience. It's really easy to kind of put up with or deal with an abusive or traumatizing family member anytime you say to yourself, I need them. And, you're doing it so that you can continue to stay connected to this abusive, traumatizing, or unhealthy person. The next thing is that's normal. That's normal. All families go through it, right? I'm not the only one. If I leave my family behind, I'm likely to run into a friend who probably has a similar problem. So I might as well stay here, because that situation over there probably won't be any better. These are all defense mechanisms, all denial mechanisms that you may find yourself using. You may also hear yourself say, they would never, right? Maybe I misunderstood it, because they would never do that, right? They have never been that kind of a person. Or why would they even take that chance and do that? I bet you that's not what they meant, right? Or I bet you they just misunderstood something. That's denial again. You're trying to placate, you're trying to minimize, you're trying to justify. If you're trying to do all of these things and you've had a negative pattern of interactions with your family for many, many years, or for many months, or it's chronic and pervasive, it continues to happen despite you not liking it, it's a problem. It doesn't matter what defense mechanism you use, it's still a problem. And I know you know that deep down. If you find yourself in this position, I know you know that deep down. It's just hard to take those steps to put up the boundary or to walk away. Lastly, the thing that you may think to yourself is, that's just how they are. Like, they're never going to change. He's old and set in his way, or she's always been that way. That's her culture. Or my mother has always been that way. We just need to learn how to accept it. In some scenarios, that may be wisdom speaking, but in other scenarios, that's minimizing, defending, and being in denial all over again. Okay. Now, let me point out some kinds of denial that there are. There's simple denial, right? No, that's not happening. I'm not seeing it for what it really is. Okay. Minimization. And, minimization is kind of like a combo or a combination of realization and denial. Okay, so minimization may be something like, yeah, I know he's rude. Like, Uncle Bill has always been a rude person, but, right? Or Aunt Susu has always been a mean person, but. Or, Mom over there has always been really critical and judgmental, but, right? So you're minimizing it. You're saying, yes, I acknowledge it, but I'm also going to minimize the impact of it. So it's a combination. Minimization can be a combination of, reality and denial. Okay. The next one is projection. So, you may actually take the situation and project your feelings of it onto it. So here's an example of that. You may look at your brother and say, you know what? He's so rude. He cares nothing about us. He only contacts us when it's convenient for him. Well, here's what you may do. You may say, you know what? Here's the projection. You know what? We had a tough childhood, and I bet you he's having a hard time communicating. He never really learned how to communicate. So I think I'm just going to be really delicate with him. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be understanding because we both had a terrible childhood, and I bet you he's struggling as well. You're projecting. That doesn't have to be the case at all. It could be the simple case that, he's rude and he doesn't really care, It doesn't have to be that you guys had a terrible childhood and he doesn't know how to communicate. Okay, so you don't want to project. Again, that's a form of denial. Internalization. I'm just going to take all this pain and take it inside and push it down and act like it didn't happen. It's not hurting me. It's not bothering me. You may have married into a family, for example, and you see that your husband's brother, your brother-in-law, is really cruel and mean. Your husband, instead of directly dealing with it, he may say, you know what? He brought up something I didn't want him to bring up at the dinner table the other night, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm fine. I was offended at first, but I'm okay now. I had to lick my wounds and, just kind of get my head back on. I'm okay now. It's fine. I'm not going to be bothered by this. That's probably not true. You're internalizing, shoving down. You're saying, you know what? I don't want to deal with this, so I'm going to push it down. That never works. Okay? Let me give you some specific forms of denial. Okay? And I encourage you to research this because I think you're going to get a little bit more from just my notes. Okay? So here's the first kind of denial. Denial of fact. Denial of fact. Okay? Here's the definition right here of denial of fact. You're going to have an oversight or some kind of minimization of the falsehood of something. So here's what I mean, okay? You know that your stepfather is abusive, but you're going to deny, okay, that he's an abusive person because it's a whole lot easier to just believe that he had a bad day the other day, So you're going to denial. So denial of fact. The fact is this, he's abusive, but you're going to deny it because it's easier. The next one is denial of responsibility. Here's the definition of that right here. Denial of responsibility. You're going to blame. You're going to waffle on something because you don't want to take responsibility for what you said, what you did, right? The other thing is justify, okay? And you might even regress to a younger age, right? And really find yourself becoming immature in how you're trying to approach something. So denial of responsibility. No, they didn't do what you thought. They really didn't. I know my dad's on drugs, but he did not steal your wallet the other day for drug money. He didn't. I guarantee you, right? This is how we lie to ourselves when we're having a hard time accepting who our family members are, okay? The next thing is denial of impact, right? So I'm not going to accept the fact that the impact of this family member is difficult for my life. I don't want to believe that the impact of my family member is what has caused me trauma, caused me PTSD, caused me to be institutionalized or put into a hospital or wanting to kill myself. So I'm going to deny that impact. They are fine. It was all my fault. I needed to have coping skills. I needed to figure this out. And denial of awareness, right? I don't know what you're talking about. Right? Okay. I mean, I know I drink some alcohol, but I highly doubt that the alcohol is why I was mean the other day, right? So you're denying either that family member's behaviors, right? You're closing your eyes and saying, nope, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to look at the fact that my family member may have been on alcohol. I doubt it if alcohol had anything to do with their behavior, right? Denial of awareness of the real issue. The real issue is the elephant in the room, and you deny that it exists. I hope this video was helpful to you. I encourage you to do some research. Go ahead and Google these things and see what you come up with. Just learn these different forms of denial because you're definitely going to need to understand them as you move forward in your family and as you kind of evaluate and reflect upon your decision to be separate from your family. Thank you so much for being with me today in this video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if it was helpful and hit that subscribe button and bell button if you want to get more videos like this. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.